Hi, everyone. I'm Lars McKenzie. I'm in your software engineering course, and I'm going to be doing a really brief walkthrough of my to-do app project, which I built using React. Um, so to start, I'm actually just going to share my screen with you so you can see the slides that I put together. And I'll just open this up for you. So as I said, I created a to-do app using the React framework for this project. To-do apps are a really great way of demonstrating the CRUD principles, being able to create, read, update, and delete data. These are important components of writing software, doing these four actions. So a to-do list actually does each of those by creating a new task, letting users read the task somewhere, usually in a UI, being able to update that information and delete it. So I've gone through two of those steps, but not all four, and I'm going to talk about which ones I've done and how I will complete the other ones. So this is just a snippet of my code. I just copied and pasted it into the slide so you can see how I'm setting up one of my components. This is a component that I called to-do list, the actual list itself. I'll go through some of the elements here. One of the most important pieces, or two of the most important pieces of this component are actually right here in the very top where I have the constructor, which contains my state, which is where all of my data is actually going to be stored for this application or for this component of the app. Excuse me. And then I have my component did mount function. And so that's going to be called right when the component basically is ready and all of the pieces of it have mounted in the DOM. So when my component is mounted, when it's ready to go, my function called get items will be called. And I'll just go in and show you this get items function. It's basically an HTTP request to my server, which will then make a request to my database to get all of the to-do list items that have already been created and that are stored in my database. So you can see that that's happening right here in the get request. And then in the then, we're setting the state. So the response from the server will be set as the array in state. It'll become the items array in state. So that's what this assignment is doing here. I'm just going to skip over this delete item just to show you my UI, and then I'll explain the delete in a second. So the component has to return something with one parent element, and so I'm returning a div that contains my unordered list, and within the list we have my array of items that's stored on state. It's mapping each item inside that array is going to become a list item. So we have the item.name, which is the description of the to-do, and then we're going to actually have a button next to that in that same list item tag, which has a delete button. And you can see when that button is clicked, we're going to call the function delete item, which I kind of skipped over momentarily, but which takes that item's ID and makes a request to delete that item from the database. And then it calls get items again. So we have a fresh current list of to-do list items each time React is reacting, basically updating. And then finally at the bottom, we have this, I'm exporting the to-do list so that I can use this component throughout my web app. In terms of next steps, as you can see, I only have create and delete, so I need to work on, I do have read, but I need to put it within a bigger context of the web app. It's not functioning right now to open it up in the browser. So my next steps are working on getting the read fully functioning and building out the other pieces of the app, as well as making sure that items can be updated. So being able to toggle them as complete or incomplete, that's a big part of a to-do list. So that's my next step. And then future steps would be moving the data into like a Redux store so we don't have to, so we can just manipulate the data a little more easily within the app. And then I'd like to actually break the list item into a component itself. So we just have finer levels of control over when React is, going through the life cycle of responding and making more requests. Great, that concludes my presentation. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask away. You can unmute your microphone at this time or chime in with a chat. So I don't know if you can see this here, but I'm just writing that you can write questions in the chat. So if you have a question that you can't say out loud for some reason, if your microphone's not working or just easier to type it, feel free to write them in there. I'm looking forward to talking through my app with you guys and for seeing all the work that you're doing when we get around to the other presentations in this group. So thanks very much.